Hey everybody, how's it going? Making sure my microphone's working. It looks like it is working. So, welcome to this segment on goal setting during uncertain times. Um, I've been doing a series, well, three, of writing on goal setting myths, and thought that it would make sense to pop on here and talk about kind of the way to set goals that is, I don't want to say helpful. Yeah, it'll be helpful, but a way to set goals that's really more positive than how you've been taught to set goals. So drop me a line in the comments below if you have been taught to write SMART goals. And extra credit if you can tell me what SMART goals are. So many of us that come from the business world and the academic world and a variety of other professional worlds have been taught to write SMART goals. So those are great, but they don't get us like true life affirming stretch goals that we want to achieve. What I mean by that, and I'll go back to the goal setting myths that I talked about in my articles, is that we tend to set goals based on how we think achieving the goal will make us feel. So, what I mean by that is we think, if I get this job, I'll finally get to feel competent or professional or like a leader or however else getting this imaginary job would make you feel. Or if I run a marathon, I'll finally get to feel fit and athletic. One I hear a lot is if I lose X number of pounds, then my husband will find me attractive, or my kids will look up to me, or, all the things that we tell ourselves that if we can only achieve this one goal, we'll finally get to feel better about ourselves. Because our brains, our human brains, bless them, they're constantly telling us that we are not smart enough, we're not capable, we're not lovable. And those are our worst fears, right? So, in order to set goals that really feel good, you have to trick your brain. So, something important to know about the brain is that there are three motivators to your brain. Your brain wants to go toward pleasure, it wants to go away from pain, and whenever possible, it wants to maintain the status quo. So, it wants to maintain the status quo because anytime that you change, that you stretch, that you grow, you're putting yourself at risk. And now, really, you're putting yourself more at risk for negative feedback from other people. Um, and you're putting yourself at risk for feeling bad yourself. It used to be that if you stepped out of your cave, you could get eaten by a large animal. That doesn't happen so much anymore. So our brain has to manufacture other reasons to be afraid. But that's your brain's job, is to keep you alive and keep you safe. And unfortunately, I was going to say benefit, but it's not a benefit. The outcome of that is keeping you playing small. So whenever you think like, oh, I should really apply for this job, or it would be fun to do this. And then your brain is immediately like, nope, you're going to die. That's not going to happen. And then most of us believe that. And so we don't try to do the thing. But it's your brain's job. It's trying to maintain the status quo because anything outside of the status quo, you could get eaten. The other thing is our brain goes towards pleasure. This is why it's so hard to not eat those Cadbury mini eggs all the time because they're amazing and they taste so good. Your brain also moves away from pain. So that's why every time you try to do something new and some fear pops into your brain, you're like, oh, can't do it. Too scary. So that's kind of brain science, mini brain science. Um, so how does this have to do with goal setting? You're probably thinking. Well, most of the time we set goals based on how we think achieving that goal will make us feel. So we set goals to achieve something in our jobs because maybe we want to feel competent. Maybe we want people to look up to us. Maybe we're brand new baby leaders and we feel like we're imposters and we want to feel legit. Or, like I said, like running the marathon will make us feel a certain way. Learning to speak another language will make us feel smart. Um, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Like, yeah, it's great to feel fit. It's great to feel smart. It's great to feel all of those things. However, if you're setting that goal just because you think that you'll get to feel a certain way, that's going to backfire, because going after things is hard, right? Because our brain's going to protest every step of the way. And if we don't really resonate with the goal, if we don't feel it in our bones, if the achievement of the goal itself doesn't make us feel good, we're either going to give up or we're going to keep beating ourselves up in pursuit of that goal. So the first myth of goal setting is that we get to feel a certain way after we set the goal. The second myth of goal setting is that another person will act a certain way towards us if we achieve the goal. So, for example, when I graduate from law school, my grandfather will finally approve of me. Or when I make my first $1 million, then that elementary school bully is going to rue the day of, well, many days probably, of bullying. When I go to my high school class reunion and I drive the fancy car, all the people will, I don't know, think certain things about me. And this is another thing our brain does. Like when I lose 20 pounds, then my husband will finally look at me again. These are things that we think. And that's another way that our brain works. But guess what? I don't know if you know this, but other people can't control you. Nobody else has a tap on your brain and can make you do certain things. And the reverse is true, is that you cannot make other people do things. So as much as you want your grandfather's approval, that is entirely up to him. Nothing that you do, I'm sorry, yeah, I know that's painful. Nothing you do is going to make him approve or not approve of you. He may say some words, he may have some feelings, but that is not under your control. That's a topic for an entirely other coaching program or entirely other like series. But your husband not looking at you is totally not related to those 20 pounds. So nothing you can do can make another person feel or do another thing. The third myth with goal setting is right now we're in some weird times. It is the end of April 2020, in case you're watching this at a different time. I showered today. You're welcome. But we have been at home for over a month because of the coronavirus, and probably will be at home for another month plus. And so you might be thinking, well, the economy is so uncertain and people's health is so uncertain, and there's so much uncertainty. So how can I possibly set goals? And that totally makes sense. I get why you would think that. I was looking at the goal board that my husband, daughter, and I created on New Year's Eve, right before 2020 started, and it's all about like how we wanted to travel and all these cool things we wanted to do. And hopefully we'll be able to do that, but probably not this year. And so it's really requiring a pivot, right? And a lot of us are stuck in the thinking that I don't deserve to feel good because other people are suffering. But I'll tell you this, your suffering out of guilt and out of shame isn't helping anybody. If you're feeling guilty, like you can't show up as your best self because other people have lost their jobs, other people are, facing all of these things, other people's health is in danger, your family's health might be in danger, you might have lost your job. But feeling miserable isn't helping anybody, least of all yourself. Now, that said, that doesn't mean that any time an unhappy emotion comes up that you tamp it back down. You need to feel your feelings, and you need to feel your feelings for as long as you need to feel them. But a lot of us tend to think that, even if things are going okay in our lives right now, even if we have the privilege of still continuing on business almost as usual, a lot of us feel like we need to dim our light a little bit. But if you are in the place where you can feed yourself, your family's healthy, and you can process your emotions It's not helping anybody by you playing smaller. So guilt is not a very helpful emotion. And we talk a lot in my coaching and I talk a lot with my clients about how to notice the thoughts that are causing those feelings and how to still process your emotions. Because as you know, if you don't process your emotions, they still come up anyway, and they come up even more forcefully. And you can get sick, you can get injured. So anyway, so feel your feelings by all means. But don't stay there any longer than you need to, because the world needs you. Okay. So, how do I set goals in such wonky times when everything is uncertain? Okay, so here's how you set goals in any time, not based on how you think you'll feel after you achieve the goal, not based on what you think other people will do after you achieve the goal. Happiness, which is kind of the primary emotion that we're all looking for, happiness and joy, they don't occur outside of ourselves. If there was a way to achieve your way to happiness, you would have done it already. So, what you can do instead is choose your goals based on, let's see, I'm going to pick a thought here. Choose your goals based on the pleasure within achieving them. So, what I mean by that is if you want to run a 50K trail race, really ask yourself, why do I want to do that? For any goal, not just a 50K trail race. But ask yourself, why is it that I want to achieve that goal? And if your answer is because I love running and I love to be outside, and I feel like that's enough of a stretch for me that I could achieve it, but it's going to be really stinking hard, great. By all means, go for that goal. If your answer is, I want to run a 50K trail race because then my ex-boyfriend will see the results on Facebook and want to get back together with me, not the right reason. Choose something else. Because what will happen is you'll have this whole schedule of runs to do and workouts to do to get to the race. And if running doesn't inherently make you happy, even when it really sucks, you're not going to stick to your training plan. And then not only will you not achieve the goal, but you'll beat yourself up about it too because you didn't achieve the goal. Don't do that to yourself. It's not nice and it's not helpful. So choose your goals not based on how you want to feel when you achieve them. Choose your goals based on how you will feel while you're achieving them. So your goals should be a stretch because the whole point of setting goals is to grow into the person that you are working on becoming. So what I mean by that is, I don't know what your spiritual beliefs are, and that's okay. Um, but a lot of folks, myself included, believe that we are here to grow and improve and become the best versions of ourselves that we possibly can be. There's so many awesome things that happen along that path. And so choose goals that will help you grow into the person who you want to be. Not, and here's where it gets tricky, don't choose goals based on how you think you'll feel or others will act once you achieve the goal, but choose goals based on the learning that you'll have to do to achieve the goal. So, for example, one of my goals was to build my own business, which I've done. And the me a year ago, when I started working on my business and conceptualizing my business, is very different than the me today because of the skills that I've learned, because of how I've learned to show up in my business. I am a completely different person and a much better, more evolved person than I was a year ago. Not that there's anything wrong with the person who I was a year ago, but I just have learned so much. And so my next goal for my business is to serve a certain number of women and make a certain amount of money, not because I feel like once I've made that amount of money that I'll feel great about myself and people will be like, oh, she's amazing. But really because I want to serve as many women as humanly possible, because I truly believe that once we all are feeling good and growing into our best selves, that's when we're going to change the world. But don't tell anyone, that's my secret. So I want to serve as many women as possible, and I want to make enough money so that my family is financially independent, so that my husband doesn't have to do the job that he doesn't want to do, and so that my daughter, so that we're able to travel and she's able to grow and learn and experience things. So where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. But in order to achieve those goals, I'll have to be a different person than I am right now. And I'll have to show up for my business in different ways and learn different skills. And so that's super exciting, right? Again, the example of a 50K trail race, I use that because a good friend of mine did that last year and it totally like changed her life. But anyway, the person that you are now is different from the person that you'll be after you've achieved a 50K trail race, because you will be more mentally tough, you'll be more fit, you will have learned a lot of lessons along the way. So think about, who is it that I want to become? Who do I want to grow into? And what can I choose to do? What goal can I set that feels like a reach, but that I actually will enjoy going towards? That doesn't mean that you're going to wake up every day and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to go for my run. That probably is not going to happen. But just overall, the achievement of the goal isn't sheer misery. Um, so when you start thinking about, how is it that I want to feel? What are these desired feelings? How is it that I want to feel? And what goals can I choose that feel like a stretch, that the achievement of them, not the like the end achievement, but the achieving of them, I'll get to feel that way more often than not, then those are great goals. So my challenge to you is to come up with a list of 25 things that you would like to do or achieve or experience. Um, I'm hesitant to always use the term achievement, because so many of us have been conditioned to achieve, 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 and that just has made us burned out and miserable. But there are things that feel really good when you achieve them, right? Because you've gotten to learn and grow so much, and that's the whole point. So anyway, so make a list of 25. But as you make the list of 25, here is a little brain trick. You want to approach this list from a place of abundance. And what I mean by that is, don't approach it from a place of lack. Like, you make your list of 25, and what your brain's going to do is it's going to be like, you don't have any of those things. You haven't done any of those things. You are a tremendous loser. I mean, if your brain's like my brain, if you have a human brain, that might be what it says to you. So here's a trick, and that's to intersperse within those 25 things some things you've already achieved and some things that you already have, because then your brain will be like, oh, well, I've achieved these things, so I guess I can achieve these other things. And it helps you come from a place of appreciating what you have and being grateful for what you have. And that's another brain trick. So your brain won't approach it from a place of lack and thinking, oh my gosh, we've done none of these things. You think we're going to do all these things? But more from a place of competence and believing that it can happen. I don't know what just happened with the lighting of this, but that was weird. I'm going to see if I can do something better here. Okay. So that's the first thing. Do your list of 25. And then I want you to pick one thing that you're like, yes, that feels really good. And that's something I can do during COVID times. So pick one thing. And then I want you to make a list of all of the things you think you would need to do and learn in order to achieve that goal. And by the way, don't choose a goal necessarily that feels safe. And the reason for that is because when you look at like 95% of your goals, your brain's going to be like, don't do it, you'll die. Remember, because your brain doesn't like change. Your brain wants to preserve the status quo. And so your brain's going to throw out all sorts of fear thoughts at you. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, doing that would be so scary. You don't want to do that. That's really scary, right? I mean, think of all the things that you wanted to do throughout your life, but you've talked yourself out of because it sounded scary. If you're like me, it's probably a lot of things. But my friend, everything that you want is on the other side of fear. And you can do this because fear is just a sensation in your body. Unlike a saber-toothed tiger, fear is not going to kill you. In fact, more of us are afraid of feeling the sensation of fear than actually, like, I know it's a cliche, but the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. But seriously, like, everything you want to achieve is on the other side of fear. So don't eliminate a goal because it's too scary. Your goal should feel like 75% scary, 25% excited. And in fact, every time I enroll a new coaching client into my coaching program, there's always some fear, right? Because the idea of becoming a better version of ourselves and putting in the work to do that is really flippin' scary, because we have to trust that we're going to be able to do it, which is why having a coach helps. by the way. But anyway, so choose one goal that feels pretty scary, that will require you to become a different version of yourself than you are right now. And then just make a list of everything that you think you will need to do um, in order to achieve that goal. So that's the list is your second step. The third step is your brain's going to start having some thoughts about this goal, right? So I want you to do a thought download on that goal. And what I teach my coaching clients, a thought download is write the goal at the top of your paper and be as specific as possible. So if your goal is like to save enough money to travel to Australia and be there for a month, be really specific and write it in the first person. So I am going to travel to Sydney, Australia in March of 2021 and stay there for 4 weeks. And I'm going to fly Qantas and I am going to stay at blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to pet 5 koalas and make it as specific as possible. And then under that, write down all the thoughts that come up. So your brain's going to have all sorts of thoughts. And the good news is you don't have to believe any of them. So just write them down, get them down on paper. And then, what you want to do is do a thought model. And if you don't know what that is, you should sign up for coaching because plug here, thought models will change your life. If you don't know what a thought model is, that's okay. It's really powerful to be aware of your thoughts too. You just won't go as far without knowing the model. Maybe I'll teach you that in the future. Anyway, so you'll notice all these thoughts and your brain is basically trying to talk you out of doing the goal. The reason for getting these thoughts on paper is A, to acknowledge them, because otherwise we just pretend like we don't hear it and we ignore it, and then our brain gets louder, and then we pretend like we don't hear that, and then our brain gets louder, and then we pretend like we don't hear that. So, and then inevitably we wake up one morning and we'll be like, that goal is stupid anyway. I don't want to do it because we've talked ourselves out of it. Okay, so we have the thought download. And then what we want to do is realize that we will need to get past those thoughts in order to achieve our goal. And so this is what I work with my coaching clients on is here's where you are and here's where you want to be. And we call the middle of that the river of misery that you'll need to cross to get here. And that doesn't mean like I'm choosing a goal that the accomplishment of it will suck. Like I'm choosing this running race and I hate running. That's not the river of misery. The river of misery is what your brain's going to put you through as you try to achieve that goal. Like think about every big goal you've ever set for yourself and worked on achieving, and think of all the thoughts your brain has had about that. Think about how challenging it's been to get beyond those thoughts. Okay, so you'll need to do a lot of thought work to achieve your goal. But like I said before, the good news is once you do that thought work, you can achieve anything. If you know how to do the thought work um, behind the thoughts that are coming up, you can achieve anything because anything you want is on the other side of these thoughts and feelings. And you don't have to believe everything that you think. So just by acknowledging and noticing your negative thoughts, having them out on paper, you'll be able to go so much farther than you've ever gone before. I'm looking at my notes just to make sure that I'm not missing anything for you. So allow yourself to dream, even now. The world needs you. The world needs your passion and your energy and your love. And more than anything else, the world needs your authenticity. So goal setting is a great way to practice showing up as you actually are instead of pretending to be somebody else and pretending like you need to be a certain way in order to be accepted. So I'm kind of getting into some other topics, but I want you to play around with this and leave me some comments and let me know how it goes. And I hope that you are all doing well. You are in my thoughts and you are in my heart. And if you want to book a coaching call and talk more about thought downloads and the model and your dreams and goals and wishes and stumbling blocks, I would love that because, like I said, my goal is to serve as many women as possible so we can go out and change the world. All right, take care.